Hey there. I genuinely hope that you just went and drank some more water and maybe you did a song dance workout. I totally just did. Pro tip, MadFit on YouTube. You can do these like 3-minute song workouts and they really get your energy pumped up. So consider that when you're writing a grant application. Keep your energy up. But anyway, let's talk about what you can expect next, because knowing the 7 steps to writing a grant application is awesome, but there's a couple more challenges ahead and I want you to be able to anticipate them. First of all, you're going to be like, well, wait a minute. Where do I actually find grant opportunities? Furthermore, how do I decide which ones I should pursue? And lastly, how do I even know if we're funding ready? Are we going to be competitive? How do I talk to a funder, right? It's all these questions that you are going to start to uncover. Kind of like the more you get into it, the more you want to know, right? The more things that you're going to discover. So the solution to this is having a funding strategy. What's a funding strategy? It's a plan, it's a roadmap for funding your entire project or your entire program, and it's a roadmap to focus your organization's resources, because it's a very common scenario for your inbox to say, hey, there's a new grant opportunity, and someone to send it to you and say, hey, let's apply. And the reality is when the funding guidelines are out, you're too late. It's too late. We want to know what you're pursuing in advance, because you need to be strategically figuring out how all these pieces fit together to really fund the entire thing, right? The entire project budget. So that is what a funding strategy is in a nutshell. It's what we teach in Module 2 of our grant writing course, because it's super important to do this upfront work, so then when you write the grants, you know you're working on the right ones. So we teach it like a funnel. So you would use a favorite database that we really, really love, and you go and filter for your project and you find 100+ grant opportunities, which is totally awesome. But the reality is not all grants are created equal. And so we need to filter those down to the top 20 or so that are actually worth further evaluating. And then you have to get from 20 down to the top 2 to 5 that you're legitimately committed to pursuing. And there's a whole process that we walk you through to learn how, like the mental framework for making those decisions. So if that interests you at all, and being able to understand that process so that when you get to the grant writing phase, you actually feel confident that you're writing a grant that you feel should win, then we'd love to have you in grant writing from start to funded. And now I'm going to run through some of those frequently asked questions, because I'm guessing you've got some, and I probably should be able to hit all of them. And if I don't, you're welcome to email us. So what is it? It's the only program of its kind that's actually modernizing how grant writing is taught, and of course amplifying the impact that people like yourself have on your community, but also your own career. So this is how it works. It's a series of online instructional videos, like what you're experiencing right now. It's the same thing, right? And so there's 3 modules for learning grant writing. We've packed it as tightly as possible. So the first one's about getting you oriented, some basics about where to access all of the templates, that sort of thing. Then the second one is about that whole funding research and funding strategy process. And then the final module, of course, is writing winning grants, which is essentially the much more detailed and intense version of what we went through today. But it is still those 7 steps. It's just the more kind of rigorous training version of those steps. But what happens when you get stuck? Because whether you're new to grant writing or you're an old pro, every grant presents its own twists and turns. And so for that reason, we created this grant writing community, which is a safe place for you to be able to go and ask questions, share your wins, share lessons learned, and then get feedback from grant writing coaches like myself and others that are on the Learn Grant Writing team. Hands down, first question we always get is, what is the time commitment because you're busy? So it's comfortable to take over 4 to 8 weeks long, right? So obviously there's been people that have done it faster, but typically when you're putting to practice what you're learning, it's about a 4 to 8 week process. It's 2.5 hours of video lessons for those 3 modules, which might not sound like much, but that's because we're to the point and it's nutrient dense. You want to give yourself time to let the concepts marinate, right? So you want to let them soak in and then apply what you've learned. And if you're someone that's on the go and you can't necessarily sit down at the computer and watch every single lesson, you're welcome to download all of the transcripts, all of the audio files, and learn on the go, and then come back into the course content when you're stuck on specific things. So do what is best for your learning style. There's no right way. That's the beauty of online learning. If you want to totally Netflix binge and just hit it hard in one week and watch everything and learn it all, awesome, go for it. I feel like about 10% of people do that. If you want to really, really take your time and truly work through it with your project, awesome, you have lifetime access. Or if you're somewhere in between, like I said, typically we're seeing people in that 4-week range get through all of the course content and apply what they've learned. So we have put years of learning lessons the hard way into building this course and making sure that grant writing is approachable. It's taking a lot of iterations to get it so it's like deployable for you, including maybe some late nights with some wine deliveries from my partner, Lucas, who would probably love to know that he is in this webinar or this course. You also have lifetime access because you're going to get stuck on things and you're going to want to be able to come back and remember, wait, what are the steps to getting good letters of support, right? So that's what's helpful about, you have lifetime access, but please do not use that as a crutch. You still want to be blocking the time on your calendar. Take the time in the morning when you're fresh, like truly block it as if it was a real meeting so that you are allocating the time to learning these course concepts and really putting them to work. Now, if you're someone that's a little bit risk adverse, I totally get that. You might be saying, but what if I don't like it? So here's our guarantee. If you put in the effort by watching at least module 1 and 2, and within 30 days you think, no, I still don't like this, then you can email us and we'll give you a full refund. So that's like our pledge that we know you're gonna like it, but we want you to be really confident about it and feel that, hey, there is a way for me to really be sure I like it because I get access to everything. Another common question we get is, hey, will I get a certificate? And the answer is yes. So we're going to mail you a digital certificate when you complete the course. You can provide that to your employer, perhaps if you need to provide proof that you took the course, or you can also include it on your LinkedIn as a certification, which is helpful. Now, a common issue that folks run into is that they might not have a project in mind. So guess what? 50% of the people that are coming to this, they're new, they're exploring it as a career opportunity, totally normal, totally okay. Don't let that hold you up. There's a couple things you can do. One, I'm gonna guess you have areas of interest that you've always wanted to explore. So for example, I grew up on a cattle ranch, right? So one time it was just this nasty rainy day, kind of like it is now, and I'm hoping you can't hear the rain in the recording. But anyway, I was like, I'm wondering if there's a better way for ag businesses to innovate and get funding for themselves so that they can really change the way that their really good quality beef gets to market. And so I just spent the time researching it and found a ton of cool grants and ended up approaching this totally cool startup and asking them, hey, here's some grants I found. Would you like to go after them? Like, you can create your own opportunities, which is awesome. Or if you really just can't find something, a lot of times we'll match people with a real world project. We literally have a student right now that just emailed between filming this that's looking to do a National Endowment for the Humanities grant, which are big. And she was wondering if she could get paired with someone that's maybe looking to build up their portfolio and experience. I've got a couple people in mind, so we're gonna help match make that. So if you don't have a project in mind, the bottom line is don't let that hold you back. Next most common question, what does it cost? So we are completely dedicated to making sure that the course is accessible to all, and accessible means affordable. So you have other options, right? You could take, for example, from this provider, a $1,300 course. And even if you happen to decide to buy it on a sale day, it's still $900 and we're a fraction of that. So we wanted to make sure that we were available to someone that doesn't necessarily have an employer paying for it and it's coming out of your own pocket and is your own education investment, right? So if you're curious what motivates us, I thought I would share that. So our core values at Learn Grant Writing is to share our knowledge generously. We don't hoard any of it. It's not like we give you 80%, we keep the other 20%. It's all there. And we're also very keen on weaving a social impact into our fabric so that we make sure that the people that most need to be boots on the ground driving change with grants, like it's not out of their reach and they don't have to try to pay someone a ton of money to do it. They can develop the skills themselves, right? And we're also keen on inspiring other women to chase their dreams. We're a women-founded company. We know exactly how hard it is to sometimes make it in a very interesting professional world. And so we're really big on making sure that we're supporting other women-driven initiatives. But don't get me wrong, we love our guys too, and we support the dudes that take our course and all of the amazing work that they do as well. So one common question we get is, well, what is the results of your class? Like, how are they doing? So it's really exciting. We're seeing a lot of wins from the small grants all the way up to $1 million plus. So here's a couple examples. This is Ruth. She won 2 grants. This was within a couple weeks of signing up for the course. So she got a $5,000 one. She works at a food shelter in Florida. And then a $15,000 grant for general operating expenses because they had to cancel a number of their fundraising events due to COVID. Bonnie Walker, she's down in Bend, Oregon. And so she started, she's started a total grant writing consulting business. She's doing great, serving nonprofits in basically the interior of Oregon. And her first win was this $5,000 from a local bank, actually. And now she's applying for a ton more grants, which is awesome. Laura here, she was starting a new job on Monday, which had actually, because she had applied and said, hey, I'm getting professionally trained in grant writing, it totally helped her land the job because she was able to show, hey, I'm investing in this technical skill, and it made her way more hireable. Victoria, she had just finished the course. She actually ended up working with the student that had read our book, who, no joke, was actually in prison, getting out in a couple weeks or months, and he was so motivated to reduce recidivism and just address the opioid crisis that had caused him to have to go to jail and prison, and he just never wanted to relive that nightmare. And he had a really good project, a really good idea to kind of change the world. So we actually matched Victoria with this guy, and they totally put together a funding strategy, which he has now been released, and he is implementing it, which is just so cool. But it's not just the little grants. This is from a student, Anna. So I can't even remember exactly how much this is, but she secured something like 1.1 million in just a couple months, right? So she got $800,000 for a housing grant and a tribal wellness center, and then some Department of Justice grants, right? So kind of like amazing amount of funding that she's been able to secure. Like, this gal is a grant writing rock star, truly the definition of a unicorn grant writer. And so anyway, that was just exciting too. So whether you're pursuing small grants or your big grants, the reality is it's like baking a cake. When you learn the recipe, you can do it, whether it's baking a simple cake or something that's way more complicated. Here's one more I just wanted to throw in. This was from a student who is also totally brand new to grant writing. And she actually just won a $500,000 grant. And that was for a medication-assisted treatment program. And she said that she thought she would never do it again, right? Grant writing was so stressful, and she worked so hard because she did it in 10 days, but she totally pulled it off and literally has $500,000 to keep doing the great work that they're doing. So if you're trying to keep track of, like, holy smokes, what all am I getting again? I just want to recap that so it's really tight and it's in your mind. So video lessons that are nutrient dense, right? So you learn grant writing with online instructional courses. You get a private community group, which is on Facebook, and then you get access to grant writing coaches to ask questions as you get stuck. You also get the 2 things I haven't talked about: bonus trainings and discounted access to our favorite grant database. So I guess I just talked through that, but this is, the online instructional videos. Here's the community group. I don't know how to value this except for it's awesome and gaining more value every day as more and more people join it. So I think it's going to be, I'm a part of 2, I've taken 2 online courses where I'm now a part of a private community group. In fact, recently posted a question I was stuck on and had 150 comments responding back to it, right? Like, amazing amount of engagement and support from others. And that is the community that we are building for you as it relates to grant writing. Now, bonus trainings. So this is module 4. We are going to continue to add to this as we produce the trainings by demand. So some of the topics that are in there right now include fiscal sponsorship, which is what basically you might consider if you don't want to start your own nonprofit, you could partner with a nonprofit. Energy management, that's a biggie for grant writing. We talk about tools of the trade, so the software that we use and how we actually deploy it in managing grant writing projects. Project planning. I mean, if I had it my way, I would make it a requirement that you guys had to take a project planning course before you even took grant writing, but I know that that's not sexy or fun, so we do put it in the bonus trainings, but I guarantee you're gonna love that you had it. And then live webinars. Most recently, we just did a webinar on the Freedom of Information Act in the US and how you can use that to get past successful applications, which is awesome, but things to consider so that you're doing that thoughtfully. And then templates. Templates for days. So over 15 templates. I'm not exactly sure how many. We don't just give random templates if we don't use them. We use every single one that we recommend when managing a grant project. So sample project, prospectus, the checklist template, a schedule, partnership agreements. I think I've just loaded them all up. The funding research guide, some sample grant narratives, the whole letters to support process, that sort of thing. So all the templates you could possibly need to write a grant application are there and ready to go. Now, if you're starting your own grant consulting business and you want to use these, we have a licensing agreement, so you may use them and you just need to talk to us about that. But if you're just using this for your own job so you can do it better as a grant writer, then it's all fair game for you to use all of these resources and be up and running so much faster than having to create them from scratch. We also give you discounted access to our very favorite grant database, which is called Instrumental. So it's not a cheap tool. It's $75 a month or $82 if you were paying monthly. So it's not cheap, but it's so worth it. My heavens, you can find 100 grants in literally a 5-minute search. You cannot do that on Google, and you won't find the breadth of grant opportunities that they provide. We are huge fans of their tool. So if you tell them Learn Grant Writing sent you, you'll get $50 off your first month, which is very helpful. And then you can learn how to use the tool when we cover that in Module 2. Last little nugget. We wanted to offer a special discount code to the folks that get to the finish line in the mini course, right? So if you have enjoyed this and you want to become a part of grant writing from start to funded, when you check out, be sure to just use the code MINI and you'll get 10% off of your course. So just go to the Learn Grant Writing org page, go to the classes, and then you can see where you can check out. So before we send you off into your own grant writing world, I wanted to share a quick story because I think this might really help you realize the full potential of what's possible when you put grant writing as a tool in your back pocket. So this is Anna Tuick. We look like we're sisters because we're both redheads. We're totally not related. But anyway, she was burning out big time. She was an administrator for a landscaping firm, and she was so over it, and she had so much more potential, but she didn't know what to do. No plan whatsoever. She actually quit her job without the plan yet. We had a call, and I know she's community oriented. I know she's a great communicator. It's like she could be a grant writer. Suggested it, and she totally ran with it. So got her all trained up, and she started working as a grant writer, donating her time, volunteering at a couple of nonprofits, She Jumps, which gets more women outdoors, and then also, what was the other one? Evergreen East, which is a mountain bike association in Eastern Washington. So that's where she got started. And then this other company that had tried to hire me as a full-time grant writer, I turned that offer down, but they had reached back out, and I thought, Anna doesn't have a ton of experience, but she can totally do it. So she's actually been working with them now for 5 years, has a great full-time job doing really complicated, actually infrastructure projects. So she's secured, I don't remember what she said she's secured in total. We did make a video, which I will be sure to link below when we have that all done, but she has secured millions of dollars, literally in her 5 years of grant writing. And she's also done a little freelancing on the side, and I could see her really growing into some other role in the future. So she has just taken grant writing and completely recreated her whole career. And you know what's so cool about it? She didn't have to go to college again and accrue a lot of debt. She was able to do it within just a couple of months of training, and then really committing to becoming great at this and creating a lot of her own opportunities. So I just wanted to share that story because you can reinvent yourself and you don't have to go get an expensive degree to do it. You can get underway in 1 to 3 months. So I wanted to share a couple quotes if you're feeling okay, but is this right for me? Maybe Anna's story is not your story, right? So this is a quote from Joby. So she said, "Hey, we're looking for grants to fund our operations, helping women and children flee from abuse. Feel grant writing is a niche topic of knowledge. I want to find suitable grants for my nonprofit, increase our success rate, and get the funding we need." So if you're coming at this because you're we need it, you're in the right place. If you're exploring the career change, which is super, super common, then you might find yourself in Melinda's situation, someone said, "Hey, have you considered it?" So she was here just kind of checking it out and exploring, not fully committed yet, but at least she is checking it out and exploring it. And then she has since totally added grant writing to her repertoire. Or maybe your job requires it. So this is Marianne Wheel. This quote came from her. So she totally accidentally fell into grant writing because someone needed to do it, and she just I can't even talk. She put her hand up and she said, "I'll do it." And then all of a sudden things took off. But she's grant writing and she's done quite well, but she felt frankly, I'm a self-taught hack job and I need more systems and processes in place to be better at this. And that's why she took our training. And I also realized I've just used a ton of examples from women, but I promise we have guys in our class too. So this is from Brian. So he's seeking for some more meaningful work, which I think we can all relate to, all wanting. So he's had a whole career in film and television, and it's just not really feeling fulfilling. So he's trying to figure out, how do I rework these skills I have and target them into a career that he feels more passionate about. So that's exciting. We're seeing him really take off. And I'll close with this. This is a quote my mom used to say, but I just love it. So when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And in my book, community change makers, they are tough. That's us, right? That's you, that's me, that's everybody here that's saying, I will buckle down and help strengthen my community. And grant writing is a very powerful tool to have in your quiver because you don't have to wait on someone else to fund it. You can just go get the funding yourself. And that's super, super powerful. So whatever you decide, we hope that you found today valuable. We would love to have you in grant writing from start to funded. We love seeing the transformation that people are having. It's super fulfilling. And with that, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to just drop us a line. You can email us at info@sunworks.org. And again, if you needed to remember what that discount code was, hopefully it's short enough, everyone can remember it. It's mini course for 10% off if you join us in grant writing from start to funded. And that is it. I've loved being here and sharing all of this with you. Have an awesome rest of your day. And that's it. Signing off.